Are you coding the right way, or maybe are you learning to code the right way? Or do you believe if there is the right way and the wrong way of learning code? Let's just talk about this topic for some time. Maybe we will see if there is or there is not. What are some ways in which people can learn coding? At least people who are sitting from home and who don't have the money for maybe going to school. Obviously, it will be Googling or YouTube. So, what's the problem with these methods of learning code? The challenge that I've faced with learning code from YouTube or Stack Overflow or Googling things is that number one, what you get from there is not the software development skills, but the language skills, language specific skills, or the syntax, how PHP is written, or how C Sharp or how Visual Basic is written, but not the the programming skills or the software development skills. That is not a problem because these things come handy. These platforms comes handy and they are the lowest hanging fruit. You know, who doesn't have internet, who doesn't have data in their cell phone, who doesn't have YouTube readily available for learning code? So we use these softwares because they are, we use these platforms because they are easily accessible. However, as you get into the industry, as you start to get projects from client, as you start to be busy with project that matters in a sense that there is somebody who's depending on them, not just depending, but it's the matter of life and death, because the client, when they are giving you a job or an application to build for them, they are hoping for the best. They've got things that are dependent on that project. Maybe their entire family or their entire career is dependent on that project. Maybe they want to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, they want to be the next Apple of this world, or Twitter, Instagram, you name them. So that's what I mean by a project that matters. So as soon as you get a project that matters in your hand, you will realize that coding or syntax or language specific technique are not enough. There is something that is more than just coding that you will need. For instance, you might relate to this. As a coder or a developer or a programmer, when you are writing code, you will start to see some sort of repetition in your own code. And you'll feel like there is a need for you to step back and see what are you doing wrong. You'll find out you are repeating a lot of HTML code, a lot of CSS code, and a lot of maybe JavaScript or PHP code. So that calls for a different understanding than just the knowledge that you got on Stack Overflow or something that you have Googled, like for instance how to declare arrays, how to upload an image on Facebook using PHP, how to upload an image maybe on the internet using PHP. So there is another knowledge that you really must have. And according to me, if I could be given a chance to start coding or to start learning to code from scratch, this is the approach that I would take. What is that approach? Let me just give you a scenario so that you can get my own perspective or where I'm coming from. If I would have to build an app like Facebook or LinkedIn, which person or which guy would I hire? Would I hire a coder or would I hire an architect? What is an architect? Let's just give a very simple and easy to understand definition of an architect. An architect is that guy who specializes in planning the overall architecture of the application. He's responsible for designing the whole application in a conceptual level. For instance, he will know that these are the technologies that needs to be used, this is the framework that needs to be used, and also this is the approach in terms of how these certain pieces of the application are going to work together or interact together. Maybe he might go on as far as coming up with doing the object-oriented analysis and design, giving you a map, more like a mind map of how is the system going to work together. And then contrary to that, we've got a programmer, a coder, a guy like me sitting at home with nothing to stress about, learning coding from YouTube, and that's it, let's say. Or even if it might be an educated person, somebody who went to school and they acquired a engineering or software engineering degree or whatever, it doesn't matter, but as long as they are the coders. So tell me, which one would I hire? The software architect, the guy who will design the overall architecture, or I will hire the coder? Obviously both of these guys, they are needed, but the level of importance is not the same. So they don't sit in the same rank in terms of importance. I'm inclined to think that obviously I will go for a software architect because this person has to make design decision. Remember, these are design, not coding decision. These are design decision, not coding decision. So if I would have to be given a chance to learn coding again, this is how I would approach it. I will first learn the higher concepts of coding, not the lower minute details of it, like setting IDE, setting a platform, setting programming language, setting scripting language. I will first go for higher concept of programming, of software development in general. And what might be those higher level concept of software development in general? Number one, it will be the software architecture. I will learn about, I will do a more research about the MVC pattern, how these different architectures, the different layers interact with each other. Obviously I won't go in details because at the moment I'm just nobody sitting at home, so it's not like I will learn these things and then go and work for Microsoft, Apple, or even Dropbox. That's not gonna happen. But however, I will learn a thing or two about them. What is an MVC pattern? Also, I will get to learn what are design patterns. Obviously these are more of an advanced concept, not for in like for newbies or for new beginners, but as long as I understand what are these things and what they are for. Also, I will dive deep into the solid principles, what are they, and also how to write a clean code, so that I can understand writing a clean code, even though I don't have a certain specific language that I master at the moment. But as long as I understand that there is something called clean code, and this is how it helps in the maintenance of the overall application. Because when you're applying for a job, most software companies, they are looking for someone who's going to write a quality code, and clean code is part of that. A code that is maintainable, not just somebody who can solve coding problems or who can come up with a coding solution and that's it. So for me, I will first learn all those higher level concepts. Those are not something that will take me 3 years in learning. I can just go to Google and search for those things and learn a thing or two about them, because once you get in your coding, the actual coding, they play a very important role. I once received a project which I just got into code and I coded randomly and I didn't finish the project, and I ended up not only frustrating me but frustrating the client because I can't finish the project. Sitting back, relaxing, understanding the building blocks of software architecture or software development in terms of the higher concept, it's very, very important, so that you cannot be caught up in only understanding C#, PHP, or Java, so that you can understand the higher level. What is one of the other things that I would learn as a higher level concept? It will be object-oriented programming, and also the working hand in hand with the design pattern, because design pattern are language independent. They are not language specific. It's not the patterns for C# or for JavaScript or for whatever, PHP, you name all those languages, but they are just patterns, certain tools for thinking around object-oriented programming. These things are very important, and yet most YouTube tutorials, they don't really talk much about those. What we do as YouTubers or guys who teach on YouTube, we just get into code, open Visual Studio Code, and we start coding. As time goes by, you will see a need of a certain level of planning and also object-oriented understanding in your own application, so that you can write neat and easy to maintain code. So if I were to start, I was going to start from that angle, and then from then obviously I will choose a language based on the problem that I'm solving. If maybe I'm doing a web application, then I will choose languages that relate to that. Object-oriented, well written standard or software development concepts are very important to understand and to master, because with them you will never go wrong. It will make your life easier. You will write a code that is easy to maintain and easy also to explain to others. You are not supposed to only learn how to code just for the sake of coding, but you are supposed to be able to sit down and plan. In closing, this is also one of the topics that as YouTubers we don't talk about: the OOAD, object-oriented analysis and design. The process of listening to the client's requirement and then mapping out diagrams, class diagram, use case diagrams, in order for you to get an understanding of how are these objects of this system are going to interact with each other. Us as YouTubers, we don't do that. We just get into Visual Studio Code and start coding randomly. So if I were you, I will also learn a thing or two about design pattern, object-oriented analysis and design, solid principle, and also principles around clean code. Or I will just advise you to search a guy by the name of Mr. Bob, which I believe is one of the pioneers of the solid principle. Otherwise, for me, that's it.